Our story begins with a young man named Ryoma. He worked a really draining job that made him feel like he was losing himself. His boss would dump piles of work on him, ignore everyone else, and be especially cruel to him. But Ryoma never spoke up, he just endured it all until the day he died. Then, something unbelievable happened. Ryoma woke up in a completely different world. He saw 3 wizards dressed in strange clothes, clearly not from Earth. They informed him that he had passed away. His cause of death? He sneezed 4 times in his sleep, so forcefully that his brain exploded, and his blood vessels burst. When Ryoma heard he died from a sneeze, he simply couldn't believe it. He thought to himself, I've been pushed around my entire life ever since I was a little kid. Even my last boss treated me horribly. He even hit me with a bottle once. I put up with all that just to die from a sneeze? What a ridiculous way to go. But he soon calmed himself, thinking, well, everyone has to die sometime. The wizards then told him they would send him to a magical realm, but he wouldn't be Ryoma, the 35-year-old man, anymore. He would become an 8-year-old boy, and not only that, he would have incredible magical powers to do whatever he wished. They also mentioned that this new world was called Sealfall, and that there was a special link between his old world and this new one. One wizard explained, your old world had a lot of hidden magic. Much of that magic will go with you to Sealfall, making you extremely powerful. So he signed a paper agreeing to be a kid again, and with a poof, he was sent to the new world. As he vanished, the wizards told him they'd always watch over him. If he ever needed them, he just had to go to a church, and they would know what he wanted without him saying a word. And so Ryoma began his new life in Sealfall. He was an 8-year-old boy, just as they said. Beside him was a book that explained all about his new abilities. Since he wasn't used to his new body or its strength yet, he decided to test his new muscles. He walked up to a tree and gave it a small kick. Wham! The tree split right in half. He was incredibly impressed with himself. Then he spotted a tiny slime creature hopping by. His eyes lit up like stars because he thought slimes were the coolest monsters ever. He tried to get the slime to show him its powers, but it didn't do anything. So he had to figure out his own magic to make the slime obey. The book had so many spells, he didn't know where to start. He tossed the book aside, took a deep breath, and with a little focus the magic came to him. He could control the slime. He and his new slime friend decided to live in the Jana forest. He was so happy because now he could live a free life with no mean boss to bother him. He also decided he wanted to find as many slimes as he could to be his friends and follow his commands. 3 years later, we find Ryoma waking up in his cozy home inside a cave in the Jana forest. He lived with 1,000 slimes, and each group of slimes had a special task. For instance, some slimes ate gross bugs and made super strong string that Ryoma used for hunting. Another kind was the acid slime, which could melt anything, even bones and metal. The poison slimes only ate poisonous plants and produced a very strong poison. There was another type that cleaned everything it touched because it consumed germs. And the last kind loved to eat garbage and turn it into super soil for growing plants. One day, Ryoma went into the forest to find food. He knew he might run into monsters, but he was used to them and could easily defeat them. But this time, instead of an animal or a monster, he found a group of knights. One of them, named Hughes, was severely injured. The person meant to heal him, named Camille, couldn't fix his large wound with magic, and it looked like he was about to die. When Ryoma saw this, he went to help. The knights got scared and drew their swords to stop him, but our hero didn't even flinch. He calmly handed them a special drink he had made and said, "Give him some of this and I promise he'll be okay." His voice was a bit quiet since he hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 years. But he quickly spoke up again and said, "Try this medicine, you won't regret it." Camille, the healer, took the drink and immediately recognized that it was incredibly potent and would definitely help Hughes. And it did. After Hughes drank it, he fell fast asleep. The knights put their swords away and thanked Ryoma for saving their friend. Ryoma then invited them to his home to rest, and of course they agreed. They carried their sleeping friend and followed Ryoma through the forest to his house. They were really confused. How could a small child live all alone in a place like this? They could tell by his clothes that he was a hunter, but it was still very strange. Then Ryoma suddenly stopped. He could sense a creature approaching. The knights prepared to fight, but it wasn't a monster. It was a slime. The knights didn't know this slime was Ryoma's pet. Seeing their confusion, Ryoma told them, "It's okay, you can put your weapons down. This slime is my friend." They listened and put their swords away, apologizing for the misunderstanding. They continued walking through the forest. Along the way, a knight named Rain told Ryoma that when he was a boy, he used to live in a house full of slimes. His family had been raising them for a very long time, along with other cool and rare animals like red horses and storm monkeys. All those animals were super expensive and hard to find. That's when Ryoma realized that Rain's family was very wealthy. After a little while, they reached a mountain, and Ryoma said, "My house is here." They were shocked and thought, "Is this kid joking? Where's the house?" Then Ryoma performed a magic spell that made a secret door appear, revealing a house hidden inside the mountain. The knights finally understood. When they went inside, they put Hughes on Ryoma's bed. They could see that he truly lived all by himself. The only furniture was a table, a chair, and a few things for just one person. Thinking about everything Ryoma had done since they met him, the knights began to wonder if he was actually an old man using magic to look like a kid. Then Ryoma brought out a box full of bottles with the magic drink he used to help their friend. He told them he made it all by himself. He also gave them cold water with ice, which was a big surprise because in that world you could only make ice with magic. They asked him how he did a spell like that. He just smiled and said, "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ryoma, an 11-year-old hunter. Nice to meet you." One of the knights, Rain, said, "Nice to meet you too. I'm Rain, a nobleman." Ryoma bowed and said, "It's a huge honor to have a nobleman in my home." Rain replied, "Don't be so formal. I owe you for saving one of my men." The others started to introduce themselves too. One said he was a healer. Another said, "I'm a scout and my name is Zed." The last one said, "I'm a knight and my name is Gil. I'm sorry I pointed my sword at you before." Ryoma said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It happens." Then Rain told him what happened. "We were in the forest when some bad guys attacked us, but we defeated them. After that, we saw a giant black bear and we fought it too. But before it was defeated, it hurt Hughes really badly, as you saw. When our horses saw the bear, they got scared and ran away." Rain then asked, "Why would a young boy like you, who knows magic and is a hunter, live in this forest instead of a village? Why are you all alone? Where's your family?" Ryoma answered, "The people in the village think I'm a strange kid, so I don't like living there. Also, I used to live with my grandpa and grandma, but they passed away 3 years ago. I've been living here by myself ever since." Then Camille, the healer, took out a magic crystal ball. He explained that if someone touches it, it can tell if they are a bad person or not. If they are, the ball turns red. If they're good, it turns blue. It can also show the person's name, age, and how good they are at fighting. Camille asked Ryoma to put his hand on the crystal. Ryoma felt a little stuck but did it so they wouldn't think he was hiding something. He put his hand on the ball and it glowed blue. But Camille looked really surprised by something he saw. Ryoma asked him, "What did you see?" Camille said, "Oh, nothing. It's just that it says you don't have any fighting skills." Ryoma said, "Don't worry about it. I'll go make you guys some dinner." Then he left the room. Rain asked Camille, "What did you see in the crystal that made you so surprised?" Camille showed him what it said, that Ryoma was 11 years old and that he could handle any kind of pain, whether from being hurt or feeling sad. Rain then said to his friends, "We can't just leave him here all by himself in this forest. I'm going back to the castle to tell my father, Elise, about Ryoma." A little while later, Hughes was completely recovered. He thanked Ryoma for everything, but when he started to feel tired again, Ryoma gave him another drink that smelled really bad. Hughes didn't want to drink it, so Camille had to make him. Once he drank it, Hughes felt perfect, even better than before. He told Ryoma, "You saved the life of the Duke's special guard. I'll never forget what you did. If you ever come to the city of Joanna, you must visit me." After that, they all said goodbye and left. A week later, Ryoma was surprised when the healer came back to his house. This time, he was with a girl who was as pretty as the moon, and she was the same age as Ryoma. First, everyone introduced themselves. The older man was James, who was Rain's dad and the old Duke of the Kingdom. Then Elise, Rain's wife, introduced herself and thanked Ryoma for helping her husband and his knights. Ryoma politely said, "I just did what anyone would do." Then Rain introduced his daughter, Ilia. Ryoma's face turned bright red because he had never seen a girl his age before. He didn't know what to do, so he said, "I wish I could have welcomed you all properly, but my house is pretty simple." James laughed and said, "Don't say that. It's so nice of you to have us, especially since we just showed up." Then James saw all the slimes around Ryoma and gasped, "Wow, I've never seen so many slimes in one place. How did you get them all to be your friends?" Rain, who was also surprised, asked, "Are there more of them than last time?" Ryoma said, "Yep, they've been busy." Each one split into two. Ilia then asked, "Do they know how to get back to your house?" Ryoma answered, "Yes, I taught them the way." Then Ryoma told the slimes to get bigger. All the slimes squished together and turned into one giant slime. Ilia was amazed and asked, "How did you do that?" Ryoma explained, "I can make more than 100 slimes of the same kind joined together to make one big slime like this. It helps them get inside the house faster. Once they're inside, I turn them back to their normal size so there's enough room for everyone." Everyone was super impressed with how good Ryoma was at befriending slimes. Elise couldn't believe her eyes. She went up to Ryoma and said, "You talk like what you do is no big deal, but you're an amazing slime tamer and hunter." There's no one else like you. That's why you have to go and sign up at the Tamers Guild and tell everyone about your amazing discovery. Ryoma said, I'll think about it. Then he told the slimes to go back to their normal size, and they did. Everyone then went inside the house. Just then Rain gave Ryoma a gift. It was a golden pocket watch. He said, I noticed you don't have a clock in your house. I thought this might be useful. Ryoma took the gift with a big smile and thanked him. Then Ilya said, by the way, we didn't just come to give you a watch. I come from one of the best families of slime tamers in the whole kingdom, and I want to catch my very first slime all by myself. Since you're an expert, I was hoping you could tell me the best place to find slimes so I can catch my first one. Ryoma pointed to a little lake on a map of the forest that he had drawn and said, slimes usually go here to get a drink. If you go there, you'll for sure be able to catch one. Ilya said, okay, now I know where to go, but I still don't know what kind of slime I want for my first pet. What do you think I should get? I've never seen that white slime you have before. What is it? Ryoma said, those brown slimes you see eat garbage. They get rid of anything that smells bad and turn it into good soil that I use for my plants. Ilya started writing down everything Ryoma said so she wouldn't forget. She told him she had never heard of that kind of slime before. Then Ryoma picked up a white slime and said, this one is called a cleaning slime. It can clean and make anything germ-free. He took out a piece of cloth and told her, this cloth got dirty when I fought a goblin in the forest. I won. He then gave the cloth to the slime, and in just a few seconds, the slime cleaned it so well that it looked brand new, even better than a washing machine could do. To show that cleaning slimes don't eat people unless he tells them to, Ryoma put his hand inside the slime and nothing happened. With a big smile, Ilya said, I've made up my mind. My first slime is going to be this cute white cleaning slime, and I want you to teach me how to catch one. Ryoma's face turned red again, and he said, I can't teach a girl like you how to catch a slime. It was easy to see he was feeling shy, but all the men in the house came over to him. When he told them how to catch a cleaning slime, their faces turned red too, except for Hughes, who said, leave it to us guys. Then he turned to Ilya and the other women and said, it's really easy. Cleaning slimes love bath water. All you have to do is take a bath, save the water, go to the lake, and pour it in. The cleaning slime will come right to you, and you can make it your pet. Just then, Hughes got a big punch in the face, but Ilya did what he said, went out, and caught her very first slime. At the end of the day, she came back holding her new slime with a huge smile. Everyone congratulated her. That's when Ryoma remembered the day he caught his first slime. He remembered how happy he was and that he named it Taboo, after his best friend. Then Elise asked Ryoma, what are you going to do next? He said, I'm not sure yet. I might stay here in the forest, or maybe I'll go to another city. It depends on how I feel. Rain said to him, why don't you come with us on our trip to the city? If you ever want to come back here, you can. Seeing that Ryoma was unsure, Ilya said, by the way, this is my first big trip too. I was really scared, and I still am. But because I said yes to this trip, I've had so many adventures. I've learned a lot, and there's still so much more to see. I'm sure we'll find lots of things on the road that will teach us even more. Her words convinced him, and Ryoma said, okay then, if that's the case, I'll go with you. Rain smiled and said, get all your things and give them to Sabas, my helper. He'll put them in the magic chest. But Ryoma laughed and said, oh come on Duke. Did you forget I'm a magician? I'll put my own things away. Rain was surprised. How could that be? A magician couldn't use a magic chest until they were older and had learned all about magic. Just then, Elise's eyes lit up with excitement. If you want to learn any new spells, she said to Ryoma, just tell me and I'll teach you everything I know about magic. Before Ryoma could say anything, Ilya jumped in and said, say yes, we'll learn together. He smiled and said, if we're learning together, then of course I'll say yes. He then went to get his things, putting everything neatly into his own magic chest until the house was all empty. After that, they all went outside and Ryoma used a special spell to put a magic shield around his house to keep it safe. Sabas brought out 2 big magic carriages pulled by horses. They split into 2 groups. Ryoma, Ilya, her mom and dad, and Sabas got in one carriage, while Rain and the others got in the other. As they started their journey, Ilya turned to Ryoma and asked, hey Prince, can you really control fire, water, earth, and air? Ryoma answered calmly, of course, my grandma taught me all kinds of magic. Rain was shocked. You mean you can do barrier magic, taming magic, and all 4 of the main types of magic? That's amazing. People like you are super rare and are very important magicians. Ryoma said, and what would you say if I told you I also know how to do healing magic and alchemy? Jamal quickly warned him, alchemy? That's a super rare kind of magic. Only a few magicians can do it, and most of them are bad guys. Don't let its power make you do something you'll regret. Ryoma said confidently. Don't worry, Grandpa, I'm not like them. To be honest, I didn't even know alchemy was that special. And anyway, I only use it for good things. Then Ryoma thought to himself, these people are funny. Every time I tell them something I can do, they act like it's a miracle. I hope things don't get any weirder. Everything was going great until it started to rain. Sabas got a blanket from his magic chest and gave it to Elise. All of a sudden, the carriage stopped. Ryoma got out wearing a magic coat he had made himself. He used a special goo from his poison slimes to make it waterproof. As he was checking to see what was wrong, Jay whispered to his wife, just think how much money Ryoma could make if he sold that coat to Sergei, the merchant who owns the Morgan Trading Company. Meanwhile, Ryoma found the knights all in a mess. A big part of the mountain had fallen and was blocking the road. Ryoma stepped up and said with confidence, I've got this. First he put a magic shield over everyone to keep them from getting wet. Then he used a powerful spell to lift the huge rocks that were blocking the way. It took him all night, but when he was done, everyone thanked him from the bottom of their hearts. They kept going on their trip, and after 3 days they got to the city of Jammu. They went to a hotel to stay. When Ryoma went into his room and opened the window, he looked out at the busy main street of the city. We found out then that the city is famous for its mines, where workers dig up different kinds of rocks. But lately they hadn't been getting as much as they used to. That's why the Duke had come, to see which mines should stay open and which ones should be closed. Since Ryoma didn't have an ID card, the Duke and his family took him to the church to get something called a status element, which is like a personal ID. When they got to the church, the person working there told him, take this thing, put it in front of the crystal, and then touch the crystal. Ryoma did what he was told. All of a sudden, he was back in the place where he had met the 3 wizards who sent him to the world of Salfel. When he saw them, he got scared. What's happening? Did I die again? They laughed and said, no, you're not dead. We just missed you and wanted to see how you were doing. Then they said, we're really proud of how well you're doing in this world, especially your house in the forest. But the best part is, the bathroom is always super clean. Ryoma laughed. Well, I can't take the credit for that, it's all thanks to the cleaning slime. Then they told him a big secret. There was never a cleaning slime or a garbage-eating slime. He had made those kinds of slimes himself by helping other slimes change and grow. But that wasn't the only surprise. Ryoma found out that lots of other people had been sent to the world of Salfel from Earth. Some of them had even become part of rich and important families. For example, there was a woman who was really good at magic and started a school to teach people how to do spells and be friends with monsters. She ended up meeting one of the Duke's ancestors. They fell in love and got married. That's how Elia got her magic powers, from her grandmother who came from Earth. Ryoma was so happy to find out that Elia had a connection to his old world too. When one of the wizards saw how happy Ryoma was, he thought, let me tease him a little bit. Then he suddenly said, there was another person who came from Earth to our world before you, but he used the magic we gave him to do bad things. But in the end, he was able to stop himself and use his magic for good again. Then, the wizard said to Ryoma, be very careful. The magic power you have will make both good and bad leaders want to find you. You have to be on your guard, Ryoma said with confidence. Don't worry about me, I'll know how to handle them. After that, Ryoma went back to the world of Salfel, got his status element card from the worker, and then went to meet the Duke and his family who found out that he had finished getting his ID. Just then, Jamil jokingly said to him, now that you're a proper young man, I want to give you some good advice about the city. Ryoma smiled and said, please do, Grandpa. We can always learn from you. Jamil spoke in a serious voice. You have to be careful. Your magic powers are much stronger than other kids your age. This could make a lot of bad people want to find you, either to learn magic from you or to use your powers for their own bad plans. That's why you shouldn't show off your powers in front of regular people and try not to get too much attention. I know it's hard, but you have to try. It would be even better if you joined one of the magic guilds. Just then, Ryoma noticed that the young girl wanted to say something, but she was too shy. So he said, what's wrong? It looks like you want to ask me something but are too embarrassed to say it. She said shyly, it's nothing. I just wanted to know how much magic power do you have? He answered, 198,000. She was shocked and said, can you really control all that power? We have a lot of magicians with much less magic than that, and they still can't control their powers. He asked her, and you? How much magic power do you have? She said, 2,000, and I still can't control it. He said gently, that's okay, it's easy. Just practice using it over and over, and you'll slowly get better at it. She was impressed by his idea and asked, where did you get that idea from? He said playfully, that's the difference between us, my dear. After that, they went to the Magic Guild, but the guild wouldn't let Ryoma join. To get in, you had to be able to call a magical animal and control it. but Ryoma always had his animals with him and never needed to call them. So, the Duke and his friends took him to the Adventurers Guild. The boss of the guild gave Ryoma his test himself. The first test was to shoot arrows at targets that weren't moving, and Ryoma hit every single one with just one arrow. The guild boss said, "Great, now, let's make it harder with moving targets." But that was no problem for Ryoma, he hit every moving target perfectly. Then came the last test, where the boss threw a dagger at him to see how fast he could react. Ryoma not only caught the dagger with his hand, but he also threw it back at the boss using a magic spell to make a weapon and attacked him with it. The boss laughed and said, "I was just testing you, kid. You passed all 3 tests with no problem." After that, the guild boss gave him his Adventurers Guild membership card. He was a G-rank adventurer, which was the lowest rank. He said, "I'll have you start at the bottom so the other adventurers don't get jealous of you." Ryoma said, "Okay, no problem." Ryoma got his first job, which was to clean houses and bathrooms. The next day, he went to his first job. When he knocked on the door, a very neat-looking cat opened it. Her name was Maya, and she was from a group of people called the Beastkin. This was the first time Ryoma had ever seen a cat person. As soon as the door opened, a really bad smell came from inside, and it was hard for Ryoma to breathe. But the trash slimes jumped into the box, excited to eat all the garbage that was everywhere. Ryoma then found out that Maya's house was next to the garbage dump, and part of the wall between them had fallen down, letting all the trash come into her house. No one had wanted to clean her house because it was so messy, and she had given up hope that anyone would help her. So when Ryoma told her he would clean it, she couldn't believe it and started crying because she was so happy. Then Ryoma opened the slime box and said, "Let's get to work." They started with the garbage dump where the slimes ate all the trash. Then Ryoma used a water spell and washed the whole place down. After that, they went to Maya's house. The trash slimes did their job again with a lot of energy. A hole in the broken wall was now easy to see. Ryoma called his sticky slime to help him, then used a stone spell to put the stones back in place and stick them together. After he finished fixing the wall, he cleaned the area to get rid of all the germs. Finally, he gave Maya her house back, all clean and fixed. She cried again because she was so happy and couldn't believe her house was back to normal. She thanked Ryoma a lot. Ryoma jokingly said, "No need to thank me, my little cat. I was just doing my job." Then he had her sign a paper that said the job was done, and she signed it with a big smile. The news of his great work got back to the Adventurers Guild, and they decided to give him a big bonus. When he went back to the guild, the person at the front desk couldn't believe he had finished cleaning Mia's house so fast. She gave him a bag full of money. He asked in surprise, "What's all this? That's a lot of money." She said, "It was Maya. She asked us to give you double the pay." After that, the guild boss called him in for something important. When they sat down, Ryoma said, "I know what it is. Cleaning the public bathrooms, right?" The boss laughed and said, "Exactly, but be careful. This is a job that the government asked for." He explained that the government used to pay poor villagers to clean the public toilets. But the person in charge of the money stopped paying them because the country was having a hard time, and the mines weren't making as much money as before. Ryoma said, "I know that, but what happened to the villagers isn't fair. I don't think the Duke would ever be okay with something like that. I'll tell him myself." When he got back to the palace, he told them what had happened. The Duke got very angry and said, "How could this happen? Someone in the ministry must be stealing money. I never stopped paying the villagers who clean the public toilets. The full payments are still being sent. We need to start an investigation right away so we can catch that bad minister." He then asked Ryoma to take over the job of cleaning the public toilets for a little while until they could fix the problem. Of course, Ryoma agreed. After that, the young man went to the area with the public restrooms. As soon as he opened the door to the first bathroom, a terrible smell hit him. He and the slimes started cleaning right away. Since the slimes ate a lot of waste, each one split into 2, which helped Ryoma finish the job much faster. But Ryoma was shocked to find that there were poisonous gases inside the public toilets. He quickly told the Duke and his family. They were all very worried about him, but he told them, "My body is safe from all kinds of poisons, so I'm not in any danger. But if the villagers come near these toilets, they could die just from breathing the air. That's why we need guards to protect the area while I'm cleaning." The Duke then sent a group of adventurers to go with Ryoma and guard the restrooms while he worked. The next day, the adventurers went with Ryoma, and while he was working, Elise came with her servants, bringing food and juice for him. The adventurers wouldn't let them go into the restrooms, so they asked the servants to give the food to Ryoma, and everyone agreed. In the evening, Ryoma came out to take a short break, ate his food, and drank some juice. In the morning, when the adventurers told him to take a real rest, he said, "I won't rest until I'm finished." He went back inside to keep cleaning, and the adventurers were amazed by his bravery and how hard he worked. After some time, Ryoma finished cleaning all the public toilets. When he came out of the last restroom, Maya was there to greet him and said, "You did a great job, hero." Then the young man went to the Adventurers Guild and told the guild master, "I finished cleaning all 30 toilets." The guild master said with admiration, "Well done, adventurer. You can expect a big reward from us. Now go home and get some rest you've earned." The next morning, as Ryoma was leading the Adventurers Guild, he remembered his days back on Earth. He used to work late into the night and would come home in the morning to find his mother waiting for him. At that time, he felt like someone really cared about him and his life. But after his mother passed away, he would come home to an empty house. And even though it made him sad at first, he slowly got used to being alone, used to having no one in the world. But this time, when he went back to the Duke's palace, he found the Duke and his whole family waiting for him, wanting to make sure he was okay. Ryoma couldn't hold back his feelings and started crying because he was so happy. He said to them, "It's been so long since I felt like I had a family that cared about me. I don't know how to thank you." Elise came up to him gently and said, "From now on, you do have a family that loves you and worries about you. Don't worry about anything. We're here for you. Everything is going to be okay." The next morning, Elia woke up early and started making breakfast for Ryoma with her mother and the servants' help. When Ryoma saw the fancy breakfast, he asked, "Did you make this yourself?" Hughes joked, "Don't get too excited. It's just a little something to get you to say yes to what she's about to ask." Ryoma laughed and said, "You don't need to bribe me. You just have to ask." Elia said, "I was pretty sure the eggs I made would convince you to say yes." Hughes added, "Your cooking is just too good to say no to." Pretending not to hear him, Elia said, "Ryoma, I want you to teach me magic today." He happily answered. After breakfast, they all went to a place near the forest, and Ryoma started teaching her how to control dark magic, water, and wind. It was hard for her at first, but after a while, she was able to use the magic just like he did. Then the healer turned to Ryoma and asked, "Tell me, how do you use magic when you're fighting?" Ryoma said, "I'm not very good at that." The healer wanted to show him, so he used a flame arrow spell and shot it at a nearby mountain, breaking off a piece of it. Ryoma then used his own flame arrow and broke a much bigger piece of the mountain. The healer laughed in surprise and said, Okay, you're better than me. Come on, let me teach you more." He then started showing Ryoma how to use water, wind, fire, and ice magic all at the same time in a fight. And just as you'd expect, the student quickly became better than the teacher. Then Sabas stepped up and said, "Now it's my turn. I'm going to teach you space magic," he went on. "Space magic, my friend, lets a magician teleport from one place to another in less than a second," Ryoma said. "Oh, come on," and all of a sudden, he disappeared from where he was standing and reappeared in a spot nearby super fast. Sabas said with amazement, "Excellent. Now, I want you to teleport all the way to that mountain over there," Ryoma asked. "How do I do that?" Sabas said, "It's easy. Just think really hard about the exact spot you want to go to. It's easier than you think." Ryoma did what he was told and successfully teleported to the top of the mountain in just a few seconds. At that same moment, Sabas appeared next to him and said, "You did great, hero. You learned that super fast. Now, I'll teach you how to use space magic to teleport living things from one place to another." Just then, Sabas used space magic to open a portal that could move living things from one place to another. He then started teaching Ryoma how to open a portal like that himself. Ryoma kept trying and trying until he finally did it, and he was so happy. This space portal would let him move his slimes from place to place without having to put them in boxes and carry them on his back. The next day, Ryoma had a lesson on how to fight monsters. He went to the entrance of a well-known mine with Ilya and the knights to start the training. Ilya looked a little nervous because it was her first time fighting real monsters. The Duke and her grandfather told her it would be okay and gave her some encouragement. They all went into the mine, and after walking a little way inside, one of the knights who was a scout said, "Wait, there's a monster nearby." Everyone stopped, and all of a sudden, a mantis monster appeared. The scout explained that this creature was extra dangerous because it was never alone. There were usually at least 30 more of them nearby in the mine. But Ilya gathered her courage and said firmly, "I'll take care of this one." She shot a fire arrow at it, but it didn't do anything. She then shot another arrow right at its head, and this time she knocked it down. Everyone praised her for being so brave. Soon, more monsters appeared, and Ryoma got rid of all of them with a single hit. His garbage slimes then ate up the remains of the fallen monsters. Just then, Ilya saw a metallic slime. She trapped it with an ice spell and then gave it to Ryoma as a thank you gift for teaching her how to control magic in a fun way. When they came out of the mine, the Duke and her grandfather congratulated Ilya on catching her first monster. Meanwhile, Ryoma noticed something red shining in the sand near the entrance of the mine. Using his alchemy magic, he pulled metal out of the sand, and a beautiful iron bar appeared. Everyone around him was impressed. They called over the merchant, Sergei, to look at it. When Sergei saw the iron bar, he gasped in amazement. Wow, I've never seen an iron bar this beautiful before. The person who made this must be a really skilled alchemist. Jamal smiled and said, yes, it was Ryoma, the young man standing right in front of you. Sergei said, I want to buy it. Tell me how much you want for it. Jay warmly replied, we'll sell it, and all the money will go to Ryoma. We don't need it. Ryoma could hardly believe it. He was so happy. Then the Duke turned to Sergei and warned him, don't tell anyone that the alchemist who made this iron bar is an 11-year-old boy. Someone might try to kidnap him. Sergei nodded quickly and said, you have my word. The next day, Ryoma went to a meeting with the head of the Adventurers Guild and some of its members. The guild master told them that all the people who had stolen money from the country's treasury had been fired and arrested. He then explained their next mission, to find and get rid of the monsters in the northern mine. He told them that the creatures were pretty small, but he warned them that there might be some surprises inside, so they should be careful. Before they left, Ryoma brought poison and acid close to the metallic slime to see what it would do. The slime was clearly scared. Since it was made of metal, it was very weak to acid and poisons. Ryoma gently picked it up and comforted it. Later, he was playing ball with Ilya, using the slime as the ball. Then they heard the adventurers calling for Ryoma for the monster hunt. He joined them and went to the mine, where they were met by the guild master and his secretary. The secretary said, the monsters you're probably going to see inside are either mantises, bats, or rats. The guild master added, these are simple animals and are easy to beat, but be careful. They usually show up in groups. Still, I'm sure that as brave adventurers, you'll do great. The group went into the mine. After walking for a little bit, one of the adventurers turned to Ryoma and joked, you got promoted to rank F in just 2 days. Ryoma laughed and said, do you think cleaning 30 toilets was easy? That was really hard. The adventurer replied, then go fight some monsters too. You might get another promotion. Just then, the adventurer with cat ears interrupted and asked Ryoma, by the way, how many slimes do you have under your control? Ryoma calmly answered, not that many, just 4,310. The cat-eared girl was shocked. How in the world do you control that many? He confidently answered, it's simple. I've gotten used to handling all of them. Another adventurer asked, can you actually fight? Ryoma grinned and said, of course, I fight with bows, arrows, daggers, my fists, and all kinds of magic spells. There's nothing I can't handle. The girl chuckled and said, nice. Looks like we'll be counting on you a lot, especially for attacking. None of us are really good at it. He smiled and replied, just say the word. I'm ready. Suddenly, more mantis monsters appeared, but the adventurers quickly defeated them. Then, they found a large group of bats inside the mine. Ryoma stepped forward and said, I'll take care of this. I'll use a sound bomb spell. But first, I'll put up a sound barrier to protect everyone. After making sure everyone was safe, he put a small barrier on himself and then set off the sound bomb. The explosion instantly got rid of all the bats. Ryoma then told the sticky slimes to eat the dead bats. As they were coming out of the mine, the guild master was waiting for them and said, goblin monsters have attacked the miners. The secretary showed them a picture of the creatures and explained, the goblin village is inside the mine. There are over 500 of them. You'll need to get rid of all of them. The adventurers came up with a plan. 2 of them went into the goblin village to make the monsters angry and lead them outside. Just as they planned, the goblins chased after them and fell into a pit that Ryoma had filled with acid slime. Many of them were killed right away, but because they were so big, not all of their bodies melted completely. The rest of the goblins climbed over the bodies of their fallen friends and started to fight back. The adventurers stood their ground. The guildmaster himself joined the big fight against the goblins, and many were defeated with swords and spells, but they soon realized there were way more than 500 enemies. Meanwhile, the healing slimes were helping the injured miners. More goblins started to appear, Ryoma declared. There's no other way now. He used his space magic to bring a large number of slimes into the mine and told them to attack the goblins. The adventurers fought alongside them, defeating more monsters. Finally, Ryoma decided to use the sound bomb again. He put up sound barriers to protect everyone, shielded himself, and then let the bomb go off. The explosion stunned the goblins, making it easy for the slimes to finish them off completely. And then my friend, the Goblin King, appeared, ready to destroy them all. But do you think Ryoma would just stand there and do nothing? Never. He immediately told all the slimes to attack. And sure enough, they were able to take him down. With that, Ryoma, the slimes, and the adventurers had successfully defeated a total of 2,000 goblins. After the battle, Ryoma asked the cleaning slimes to clean the adventurers and their clothes, which were so dirty they were almost thrown away. At that moment, Maya said to him, Ryoma, if you opened a laundry shop, you'd become a millionaire for sure. The idea stuck with Ryoma. When they came out of the cave, the villagers thanked Ryoma because the healing slime had saved the workers who had been attacked by the goblins, and everything went back to normal. After the adventurers went back to the Duke's mansion, Ryoma had already decided to leave and live on his own. He met with the Duke and his family, told them everything that happened on the mission, and thanked them for everything they had done for him. Then he said, I've decided to leave you all and live by myself. Ilya was clearly upset and asked, why do you want to leave us? Did someone make you mad? He replied, no, not at all. But I've been depending on you for everything. I feel like a spoiled kid. That's why I want to be on my own. The Duke answered, we knew this day would come. We were just waiting for you to decide to do it. Ilya added, I never thought Ryoma would ever leave us. Her mother said to her, just like you're leaving to go to the magic school and learn on your own, he also has to do this for himself. Then the grandfather said with a smile, we'll let you go, but on one condition, you have to write us a letter every day to let us know how you're doing. The Duke added, and you have to come visit us sometime so we can see you again. Ilya said, don't ever be afraid to ask us for help, no matter what. Also, you have to keep living in this inn. It's ours, and you can always stay here for free. Then Ilya said, I have two conditions. First, we have to meet again in 3 years. That's when I'll have my first break from school. Second, we have to meet again in 6 years after I graduate. And if you forget those 2 dates, I'll make you sorry. He smiled and replied, all right, I won't forget. Then he asked them, are you leaving the city too? They replied, yes, we'll be leaving once the grill frog season starts. He asked, aren't those the frogs whose skins are used to make weapons? The Duke said, exactly, and their insides are used for medicine too. Ilya added, during that season, a rare bird called the lemur appears. It's a really beautiful bird with a lovely voice, but it's super hard to catch because it's so fast. Ryoma said, I'd really like to see that bird. Ilyas told him, if you want to see it, you'll have to come with us. He replied, you can count on it. Then Ryoma told them that he wanted to open a laundry business. He had noticed how adventurers always threw away their clothes after fighting ghouls, because the smell was impossible to get out. Just then, the maids came into the room and said, you'll make a lot of money from this idea. Your cleaning slimes clean clothes like magic. The Duke said, tomorrow, I'll set up a meeting with the merchant Sergei so you can tell him your idea and see what he thinks. The next day, they went to see Sergei. When he saw how clean the clothes were because of the slime, he said in amazement, this is amazing, Ryoma. I'm totally on board with your idea and I'll help you. But first, you need to sign up with the Merchants Guild so the big merchants don't cause you any trouble. And so, they all went to the guild where they met the guild master. She agreed to let Ryoma join, gave him his membership card, and also offered to sell him a great building to use for his laundry business. The next day, Ryoma went with Sergei and Ilya to check out the place. Sergei told him, this place used to be a big hotel but it burned down. Ever since then, nobody has wanted to buy it. Ryoma looked at the map and said, this spot is perfect. It's near where people live in the Adventurers Guild. I'll take it. Sergei laughed and said, great, I'll bring the workers tomorrow to start fixing it up, and don't forget my share, boss. The next day, Ryoma started getting the place ready with his slimes. Even the knights helped by putting down tiles and cleaning up the front of the shop. When Ilya told him, take a break. You haven't rested in a while, he replied. This is nothing compared to how tired I used to be at my old job. He was talking about his job at the computer company in his old world. She asked, what exactly did you do? He said, a lot of things. I made little dolls and sold them, moved things between shops, stuff like that. What? She said in surprise. Really? You used to make dolls? I want one. He smiled and said, all right, I'll make you one. Once everything was ready, Ryoma told Hughes that he would have a big opening party for the laundry shop with food and drinks for everyone. Hughes said jokingly, I'm definitely coming. There's food involved. Ryoma then left and went to the temple where he had been sent to the other world. When he got there, one of the sorcerers said to him, be careful. You can't hide your feelings like a child anymore, that's dangerous. You have to be careful from now on. Ryoma understood what he meant and said, I will. Then he went back to the world of Sealfall. The next day, Ryoma visited the Duke's family and invited them to the grand opening of his laundromat. He had made a banner that said, wash your clothes twice and get the third wash for free. He then invited everyone who had helped and supported him, including the adventurers, the merchant, the head of the Adventurers Guild, the head of the Merchants Guild, the knights, and almost everyone he knew. On the following day, Sergei came with the twins, Carla and Callum, the 2 workers he had promised Ryoma to help him run the laundromat. On the way, Sergei warned them, saying, be careful, even though the owner of the laundromat is only 11 years old, he is close to the Duke's family. So if you make any mistake with him, it will be bad for all of us. At that same moment, Ryoma was with Ilya and Aaron getting food and drinks ready for the guests. Once they were finished, Sergey came with the new employees. Ryoma welcomed them warmly, and when Sergey introduced them, he said, "These twins worked with me at one of my company's stores." Carla was the manager of the store and Callum was her assistant. Ryoma greeted them and introduced himself, then started to explain how the laundromat worked. He showed them the bags customers would buy to put their laundry in, then pointed to a special window where the laundry would be dropped down to the room below where the cleaning slimes were. He took them there and showed them how the slimes washed the clothes. After that, the metal slime would take the clothes and iron them, and then the sticky slime would arrange them neatly in their places. Everything was perfectly organized. He then took them upstairs and told them that the upper floor was only for staff. He showed them the manager's office, the room for guests, the kitchen, and all the important rooms. After that, he showed them to the workers' rooms and told them, "You can choose any 2 rooms since you're the only employees right now." As the guests started to arrive, the staff began serving the food and drinks, and everyone was happy and having a great time. Ryoma went up to the Duke and said, "Of course this food isn't as fancy as what you're used to at your parties, but it's the best we could do." The Duke laughed and said, "Don't remind me. Party food always makes my stomach hurt. Your food here is perfect for me." When the party was over, the servants and staff started to clean up the laundromat. During this time, Carla and her brother spoke to Ryoma in a very formal way, which he didn't like. He said, "Do you think I'm related to the Duke or something?" Carla answered, "Yes." He smiled and said, "I'm not. You can talk to me like a normal person. And by the way, if you're not happy with the job, you can leave. I won't be mad." But the twins both said, "We want to work with you," Carla added. "When we heard you were only 11, we thought you were just a kid who couldn't run a business. But seeing you here, we realized you were really good at this, and it would be an honor to work with you, boss." The next day, Ryoma wasn't feeling very hopeful. He told the employees, "I know we won't get many customers at first, so I'll go to the Adventurers Guild while you take care of the laundromat." When he got to the guild, he found that his friends had made a poster advertising the laundromat and hung it on the wall for everyone to see. He thanked them very much, then chose a new cleaning job. After he finished his job and went back to the laundromat, he was surprised to see a huge number of customers, so many that they were blocking the door. He used his space magic to get inside and help the employees with their work. By the end of the day, everyone was really tired, and Ryoma thanked them, saying, "I'll hire more people so the work is split up and you can all get more rest." He went to the Merchants Guild and asked the head to send him more employees because the business was doing so well, and there was more work to do. She said, "I'll take care of it, just tell me what you need." He then visited the Duke and told him everything that had happened. The Duke advised him to visit the royal guards because they always needed their clothes and armor cleaned. Working with them would bring in a steady amount of money. Ryoma promised to visit them soon. The Duke then noticed that Ryoma looked tired and said, "You seem tired. You should rest so you can keep working tomorrow." And so Ryoma went to his room, and even though he was tired, he felt so happy. His business was a success, and he was surrounded by people who cared about him. The next day, even more customers came. When one lady saw that her clothes looked clean and brand new, she thanked the employees and said, "I'll wash my clothes here every day." Everyone in the laundromat heard her and was so happy, knowing they had finally found a good place to get their clothes cleaned quickly. Once Ryoma was sure that everything was going well, he went back to the Merchants Guild. There, the head had already gathered a group of people who wanted jobs for him. When they saw him, they started whispering, thinking he was the head's grandson or a relative. Ryoma smiled and said, "I'm the owner of the laundromat and I'm 11 years old. I've come to choose who among you is right to work with us." He explained that the job didn't need a lot of strength, so women could apply too. However, he warned them that people who were scared of monsters couldn't work there, because they would have to be around slimes. Most of them got scared and left, except for a man and a young girl who looked like they were new to the city. Ryoma noticed that the man's walking stick had a hidden sword, and the girl's hair clip was also a weapon. But he pretended not to see and asked them what they needed to take the job. The man said, "My name is Faye, and this is my daughter Ling. She doesn't look like me because she got her good looks from her mother." He then showed Ryoma his broken leg and added, "Even with this, I can still work." Ryoma said, "Don't worry, that's easy to fix. I have a healing slime that can heal your leg easily." They then talked about where to live, and the man explained that they were poor and couldn't afford to rent an apartment. Ryoma told them, "That's taken care of too. I have a place for workers and staff to live." He then asked, "What's the story with the weapons you're carrying?" They were surprised he had figured them out. Faye said, "I didn't expect you to be so smart for your age. I'll tell you the truth. We used to be hired assassins, but we quit that life after our leader died. We managed to escape from our country before the government there could kill us, and we came here with nothing. No money, no belongings." Ryoma turned to the head of the guild and asked, "Did you know they used to be assassins?" She said, "Yes, but don't worry. They're good people, and I promise you they are. Ryoma then said to them, I'd like to use your experience and have you be guards for the laundry. The employees immediately agreed, and he took them there. When they got there, they were surprised to find the laundry full of customers. Ling said in amazement, Are you sure you just opened 2 days ago? The place is packed. This is really exciting. He laughed and said, It's Thursday today. Don't jinx it, my lady. Then Ryoma introduced them to the staff. He turned to Faye and said, You'll be in charge of greeting customers. Faye went to the front desk with a smile. Ryoma then said to Ling, Go to the slime room and get the clean clothes from them. Without a word, she went into the slime room. When she saw how they worked, she was really impressed and started taking the clean clothes from them and giving them to Carla. At the end of the day, Ryoma thanked everyone and asked Carla to get the money summary ready. He then took Faye and his daughter to the second floor, where he asked one of his slimes to heal Faye's broken leg. Faye could hardly believe he could stand again and thanked Ryoma very much. After that, Ryoma showed them the rooms they would be staying in, and they were very impressed by how clean and nice they were. When they went back to Carla and her brother, Carla gave the money sheet to Ryoma. He said, We earned more today than we did in the last 2 days put together. She said, You should use this success to open a new branch in another city. He said, It's still too soon for that. It's only been 2 days since we opened. Then Ryoma told them that Faye and his daughter had a military background, and for that reason they would be working in security. The next day, Ryoma met with Ilya and told her everything that had happened, that the business was a success and that he had hired new people to help him. She said, Now I feel better. I've been busy learning new kinds of magic and couldn't help you. Ryoma thanked her and went back to the laundry, which as usual, was full of customers. He decided to reward the employees by baking pizza for them himself. He made the food, and at the end of the day, they all sat together and ate. The food was delicious, and everyone loved it. The next day, Ryoma told the employees, I'll be hiring more people soon, and I'll make sure to provide meals and make the workflow better. If only all managers were like Ryoma, life would be perfect. Then Ryoma went back to the Merchants Guild and asked the manager to send new employees, including a cook. She brought him 3 women and said, These 3 are from the same village. They came to Gimel City looking for work. The cook introduced herself and said, My name is Celia. I used to work as a chef in big hotels, and I'd like to work with you. Ryoma agreed and hired her along with the other 3 girls. Days went by since the laundry opened, and things started going even better. Sales went up a lot, the staff were happy with their work, and when the Duke's family saw the line of customers waiting outside, they were very happy. The Duke said, I knew he'd be successful, but not this fast. This makes us feel better about leaving him in the city by himself. The next day, Sergei met Ryoma and asked, How's work going? Ryoma said, Everything is great. The employees you suggested are doing a fantastic job. I've hired more people, and my profits are going up every day. Sergei said, What if I told you we could make your profits even bigger? Ryoma asked, surprised, How would that happen? Sergei said, You already give our company metal bars and sticky slime threads that adventurers use. Now we want you to also give us waterproof fabric. As you know, the frog hunting season is almost here, and adventurers will be going to the swamps. They'll need waterproof cloth, he went on. We need a lot of it. You'll make money, and so will the company, Ryoma said. All right then, it's a deal. That same night, Ilya was with Ryoma and found out that he was making the waterproof fabric in an old cave. She said, I'll come with you tomorrow. The next day, Ryoma was working in the cave, and the sticky slime was doing the work. Ilya said, I came with you today to practice the violin. Ryoma was surprised and said, I didn't know you played music. She said, The birds I want to befriend talk to each other through songs. So I'm practicing to get their attention and make a taming contract with them. When she started playing, Ryoma and the slime were mesmerized by her music. When she finished, he said, How about I make you that doll I promised you? She happily said, Of course I'd love that. Ryoma then used his stone-breaking magic and carved a beautiful doll out of stone that looked just like Ilya. She was very touched and thanked him. The next day, Ryoma made dolls that looked like each member of the Duke's family. When they saw them, they were amazed. The Duke said to Ilya, Take these little statues with you to school so you won't feel lonely. She happily agreed. Then she said to Ryoma, Can you make a doll that looks like you? He said, Of course I'll make one for you. Time went by quickly and the work at the laundry was going perfectly. Ryoma kept visiting the cave, making a lot of waterproof cloth. At the same time, he practiced fighting with the slimes. When he got back to the laundry, he found out that their sales had tripled because they had gotten a lot of cleaning jobs from blacksmiths, miners, and carpenters. He thanked the employees because they were the reason for the extra income. Then he remembered that he hadn't given them any days off. So he said to them, choose, either we close the laundry one day a week and everyone gets a break, or each of you gets a day off by yourselves. The employees were touched by his words. None of them had ever worked for someone who cared about them, nor had they ever been given time off. Just then, Celia the cook said, the food is ready. Ryoma smiled and said, you got here just in time, I'm starving. The next day, when Ryoma went to the Adventurers Guild, the person at the front desk told him that a group called the CCM Harbor Party had come from a faraway city, and they had a rare type of slime with them. They tried to sell it to the guild, but the guild said no, which made them very upset because they really needed money. Ryoma took this very seriously and said to her, tell me where they are. She quickly told him they were at a pub, so he went there right away. When he got there and asked for them, he found them in a really bad situation. They had no money left at all. They introduced themselves to him, and he told them that he owned a laundromat. He then asked about the slime they had found, and one of them said, I'm Shin, the leader of the group. Please ask anything you want, Ryoma said. It's a pleasure to meet you. Show me the slime you brought. If it's really rare, I'll buy it from you. When they showed him the slime, it was red and looked like blood. Ryoma immediately said, I'll take it. He gave them 2 gold coins. Shin couldn't believe his luck and thanked Ryoma a lot for being so generous. Ryoma then said to him, the frog hunting season is almost here. I suggest you get a permit from the guild and go hunting. I hope to see you at my laundromat. I promise you'll be happy with the service. After leaving them, Ryoma used his space magic and teleported to an old mine where he made a special bond with the slime. The slime agreed to be his friend right away, which let Ryoma learn all about it. It turned out to be a blood-sucking slime. To be sure, he put the slime near a dead animal. The slime went inside the body and drank all the blood. Ryoma said to himself, this slime will be super useful for fighting monsters. It will be able to get rid of them and drain all their blood. Ryoma then went back to running his laundromat, which was doing great. He found time to make the doll Ilya had asked for, and he also finished all his jobs from the Adventurers Guild. One day, Ilya told him that her father and stepmother would be practicing monster taming the next day, and she asked him to go with her. He smiled and said, of course. The next day, Ryoma went with Ilya, her father, and her stepmother to the place where they were going to practice taming magic. There, Elise asked the group, who among you brave people can tell me what taming magic means? Ilya said, it's when a tamer and a beast make a partnership deal, which makes the beast listen to the tamer. A special bond is then made between them, which lets them talk to each other and work together. Elise said, excellent. Your explanation is perfect. Now, let's move on to the next level and learn about shared seeing magic. This is where our video comes to an end. Subscribe for more anime recaps.